Hey folks, Gary Bunzer here, your RV doctor. We're here with Larry McGow from RV Comfort Systems, and his website, by the way, is rvcomfortsystems.com. We're going to talk a little bit about his product called the CheapHeat, which basically is an add-on component to your existing propane furnace. And what it does is you allow, there's an add-on component with a heating coil, electrical heating coil, whereby you use electricity to heat the coach instead of burning propane in your furnace. Now, when you're in a campground, you've got electricity available. Why not use the electric heat that's available instead of burning your onboard propane? And then when you go on the road, obviously, you flip a switch and you go back over to the propane side of your furnace, so your heating system. Very similar to what some water heaters do with an electric heating coil in the water heater, as well as burning propane to create the heat. So Larry, welcome to us, and we've got a couple components of your CheapHeat unit here, and let's start with the coil, because this is what you have here on the desk right now. Then we'll talk a little bit more about some of the important other components. So tell us a little bit about the coil.
Well, one of the challenges has been in the process of designing this, or being able to provide enough heat to actually heat the RV clear down to those colder temperatures, well below freezing. You're limited with an electric plug-in heater in as much as you've only got as much power as the wall socket will provide, and that's about 1,500 watts. Plus you have a tendency of it, if it falls over, it's pointed against something.
It's just not safe.
Right, exactly. Where with this thing, depending on the size of shore power, and with the newer RVs now, you're finding that most of them are coming out with 50 amps. This thing will generate 5,000 watts worth of heat. Unlike a gas furnace, which is about 60% efficient, this is 100% efficient.
100% efficient.
100% efficient. What we found in the RVs that we've got this thing installed in right now, we've got people that are living in RVs that are 38 feet, 40 feet, at temperatures, well, it was 9 degrees here a couple of weeks ago in Seattle. We've got people that are heating their RVs 100% with this running, absolutely no gas, and still have reserve heat. The furnace is cycling on and off. That's how much heat this thing produces. It's amazing. One of the advantages also with this is we have the ability to have 3 different heat levels. I
noticed that you've got 3 different wattage ratings here on the end, which we'll show the camera here in just a minute, but why 3 different types of wattages?
Well, we've got for a couple of reasons. Number one, different sizes RVs are going to require a different amount of heat. We've also got the fans in them may not move as much air. We've got RVs that have a 50 amp circuit, some have a 30 amp circuit. The uniqueness of this coil is, depending on which one you select, this will run on 115 volts at 30 amps, or this will run at 250 volts on the 50 amps. This will do both of them. It's basically all in one. It's the way the system's designed. We tried to make it so we could cover the RV industry from the smaller 20-footers all the way up to the 40-footers, and be able to do it with one system.
Ah, I see. And basically, so it's the same one singular coil assembly that the installer then just chooses here at the end which wires to connect to determine what the wattage output would be.
Right, and by holding it all in this one system, it allows us to have the safeties associated with all 3 different heat levels are common to all of them. This system, unlike, again, electric plug-in heaters, has redundant safeties in it. It has 2 automatic high limit temperature switches that at 200 degrees will shut the system down.
Talk about these limit switches right here.
And if one fails, then the other one kicks in. And if those fail, then there's what's called fusible links behind the panel inside here. They look like little diodes.
Yeah.
And these things here, at 333 degrees, these things internally open up, and then they shut down. There's nothing you can do to make it run.
It's not resettable fusible link. So
No.
fusible link, once it burns through and once it's gone, then this unit has to be sent back and replace the entire coil assembly.
Exactly. And the method to the madness is if you close off all the registers, if the fan fails, if anything goes wrong, these things are going to burn through internally, and they won't cause a fire. So
redundant safety features basically means that for the end user's sleeping at night, it's not going to be a concern because you have redundancies built in.
Yeah, exactly. This actually has more safety features in it than a gas furnace does.
Now, you're still using the same fan on the existing furnace to blow the heated air throughout the coach.
Right, and that's exactly. This is after the furnace. What happens is we're using the fan. This is attached at the end of the furnace, and then the ducts are reconnected to a small plenum that this is inside of, and so the air blows through the furnace. Since the gas furnace isn't on, then this does all the heating of the air, pushes it out the coach, and we're good to go. We've done temperature checks with this stuff, and in some cases, we've actually had where this thing produces more heat at the registers than the gas furnace.
Than the propane burning.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It depends on the installation. It depends on the duct runs. But we've got temperatures and duct runs of up to 145 degrees. Yeah, well, you've seen it work.
Well, I witnessed 2 installations of this product, and I personally measured the duct temperatures. One of them measured the closest duct to the furnace, where obviously you're going to get more heat, actually measured 143 degrees that I saw with my own eyes. And the furthest duct from the furnace in this, how long was that fifth wheel?
It was 38 foot.
38-foot fifth wheel. The furthest duct in the living area measured at 95 degrees. So when you balance that out over the course of the interior length of a coach, it was quite toasty in that coach. It was nice and comfortable in there.
Yeah, and the other thing you got to realize, that was only a 4-inch duct. That was an uninsulated duct that ran full length of the coach, and you still had 95 degrees worth of temperature coming out of it that heated the coach. In fact, we've gone back to the lady and talked to her, and she said it's the best thing she's ever done. Her complaint was, believe it or not, she's got granite countertops, and her granite countertops were cold. And she says, now my floors are warm, my granite counter, everything's warm.
I know she was looking forward to walking through the floor of the coach without her slippers on during the course of a winter. So this is a great add-on product. Now, it fits across the board. Which furnaces does it work on? Which one is it not applicable to? Where's the delineation, the line of delineation?
It fits on the Suburban furnace and the Atwood Hydroflame. Now, that being said, the issue is clearances. Any one of the furnaces this goes on, you're going to have to have a little clearance. In most cases, you'll find that it takes a roughly additional 6 inches added on to the overall length of the furnace. So if you've got ducts on the end of the furnace that are sticking out, you're going to add about 6 inches to that length.
Because not only do you have the width of the heating element itself, but then this mounts into a casing where the ducts then have to be reattached.
Right.
So you're adding overall about six extra inches.
Exactly.
Yeah.
About 6 inches. Actually, if you go onto our website, which is www.rvcomfortsystems with an S, rvcomfortsystems.com, under the How It Works page, you'll find that there's some graphics down at the bottom, and it lists the different models of furnaces, and it'll give you kind of a graphic of what this looks like when it's installed on the end of the furnace. If you go to the Frequently Asked Questions page, at the bottom of the page, there's a compatibility chart. And it actually breaks down and it tells you what size shore power you have, what model of furnace you have, and it'll even tell you the clearances down to 1/8 of an inch of what you need to be able to put this in here, how many ducts you have to have, all of those things.
Now, one thing I do know you recommend is that if anybody's interested in this product as an add-on product, that you do really appreciate if they were to send you a photograph of the back side of their furnace, if they can get to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, a picture's worth 10,000 words. That way, we can help the installer make sure that he's selecting the correct product for the job. We can make sure that the clearances are there. Again, there's a couple of things we need to know. We need to know what size shore power you've got. A picture is worth 10,000 words if we can get a picture of the back of the furnace. And a manufacturer name of the furnace, and preferably a model
number, right.
I appreciate whenever people send me the type of RV they have, but that really doesn't help me.
No, No, you have to know the model number of the furnace
Right.
that's in your RV. It does help to know the brand of RV as well,
Yes.
so he'll know basically what kind of duct distribution system is pre-existing in the coach right now. So you can't give him too much information, folks. So if you're interested, make sure you let him know the year and brand of the RV, the year, model number, and the type of furnace that's in your coach as well. Now, this is not really a do-it-yourself homeowner project. Is that correct?
No, no. We only sell this through RV dealers. This is a fairly complicated process. It's nothing that a qualified RV installation facility can't handle. But you are dealing with a line voltage or residential style high voltage, as well as the 12 volts. And you want to make sure not to mix those things
Right.
up whenever you're getting them in.
Certified technician is the best way to go.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Show us the other box that you have there.
Now, yeah, this is the controller that actually we use that runs the system, and we actually went to a lot of trouble designing this controller. This thing is over-engineered, about as over-engineered as you can get.
Now, I was impressed by this device when I first saw the product because when I review products, obviously I look at the construction and how it's made and what type of care or thoughtfulness went into the design. Tell us a little bit about the things that are in here that it's not visible to the naked eye and that even some technicians may not know about, but it certainly is a plus for this product.
Yeah, the box is a NEMA 1 box. It's actually made out of 16 gauge steel. Welded joints. I'm not saying you could drive a car on it, but you might be able to.
It's a hefty box for its small size.
The printed circuit board is everything in it is over-designed by 35 to 40%. The most current that the system draws at any point in time is just over 20 amps. This is a 30 amp relay, so the wires.
A lot of headroom in that spectrum.
The circuit strips, and you can see how wide these strips are. These electrical paths are designed for an excess of 30 amps. The fans in the furnaces draw roughly 10 to 15 amps, 20 amp relays. The really part that we're real proud of is the speed controller here. The speed controller we've designed in such a manner to where that this thing has a solid copper ingot across the back of it that you can see is actually screwed into the back, and it uses this whole box as a heat sink. That way, if the installer decides to stuff this someplace underneath your RV where you can't get to it, you don't have to worry about this thing overheating because it uses this whole box as a heater. And this is your speed controller here that you're looking at in the center. And then there's these multi-taps that you can pick off of it. And the installer has to do this. This is not something that the homeowner wants to do.
Once this is installed, the homeowner doesn't even think about this box.
And you should never need access to this box again.
Right.
Your line voltage comes in on one side, and your 12 volts comes in on the other side.
Well, now from a consumer standpoint, how do they switch from the electric heat of the add-on component back to their original configuration of an LP gas furnace?
Well, that's one of the nice things about this. From the consumer standpoint, they use the same thermostat. All of the controls in their coach are the same.
So they set the thermostat just like they would if they were burning propane.
Right. The only difference is they have this switch in there, and that's installed wherever it's convenient, and it's just a matter of picking between gas and electric.
Pretty simple.
Yep, that's it. There's nothing else for them to do. That's the only thing you actually see as the consumer is the switch.
That switch. Everything else is hidden and totally out of sight.
The solid state controller that runs it is underneath. With the electric heater, everything's is all buried.
Now you do add a circuit breaker into the system, so they do need to know where the circuit breaker is located. That's the only other
There'll be a
component.
disconnect switch, and then there'll be a separate circuit breaker that they can turn on or turn off, you know, if it resets, which you shouldn't have a problem with, and that the installer is going to put in.
Right, right. Well, this sounds like an incredibly well-engineered product. I personally have witnessed 2 installations, and we'll be going through an installation on another one very shortly, which we hope to videotape that installation, so stay tuned for that as well. But Larry, I just got to say, this is one of the better engineered products I've seen come down in the aftermarket in a long while. So I appreciate you sharing a little bit more in depth with us.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate your time.
So this is the RV Doctor, and we'll see you somewhere down the road.